All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Between the Numbers Sports Show and Podcast, SEC Football. I'm your host, Daryl. And before we get started, I want to say thanks to everyone who's been supporting the channel so far, tuning in, engaging in the comments, leaving a like. But as always, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button and hit the bell notification button so you can stay up to date on all of the latest drops. So today is like history. This is the first live stream of the channel, right? I said, hey, I'm gonna try something different. I'm gonna try this live stream thing out. I don't know really what the hell I'm doing, right? So if I seem kind of like lost and I'm stumbling my way through it, then you just got to work with me. But what I want to talk about is I want to talk about On3 Sports. They are a recruiting based subscription service, but they released a poll talking about the top coaches in the SEC. And so I want to talk about that. And then also I'm going to finish up by talking about, LSU's spring practices. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Let me pull up my screen. Let's see, share it, see if you guys can see it. All right, hopefully you guys can see that. But all right, so you got the SEC head coaches power rankings, right, by On3 Sports. Jesse Simonton, right? I read a lot of his articles. Do write some really good articles. So obviously one is Kirby Smart, right? I mean, it's Kirby Smart. The dude is just killing it at Georgia. Sorry, right here I'm thinking about Auburn, but he's just killing it at Georgia. Um, you know, two national championships after pretty much Georgia had so before Kirby's two national championships, the last national championship that Georgia won, the wide receivers was playing with their hands in the dirt and was called flankers. So Kirby Smart is the king of the hill. He's the king of the SEC. Nick Saban is gone. He's retired. He's at home with his wife, drinking coffee, drinking tea, and playing golf. Number two is Brian Kelly, BK, right? BK definitely deserves to be number two. Brian Kelly has had success everywhere he's been in college, right? He's won everywhere. The only thing he hasn't won is a national championship, right? A lot of people were saying that, oh, he's coming from Notre Dame. He's not going to be a good fit. And at first, I had my doubts too, because, Brian Kelly just seemed too much of a CEO type of guy. He seemed too full of himself, right? And I was just like, this is not going to work. And then he had the blunder with trying to like fake the Louisiana accent and the dancing with the tight end that ended up not even coming to LSU and going to uh, Alabama. But, you know, in that same offseason where he had all of these issues, uh, Brian Kelly was able to take that team that year and win um, 10 games and also beat Alabama and compete for the SEC championship in his first year in the SEC as the head coach of LSU. And not to mention, he took over a program that had 35 kids on scholarship. A team is allowed to have 85 kids on scholarship, something like that, right? BK took over a team that had 30 something kids on scholarship. So he had to bring in kids from high school, he had to bring in people from the transfer portal, and he was able to get that done. And so he deserves to be number two in the SEC. He has showed people that he can win anywhere. Next is where I don't know, I feel some type of way. Caleb DeBoer, he's coming over from Washington. Like I said, Nick Saban retired, and Caleb DeBoer is now the new head coach at Alabama. Uh, Again, Caleb DeBoer, the only thing he's done, he's just won as a head coach, right? The dude rarely loses. Um, his resume as as an FBS coach is fairly light, right? He was at Washington, and we saw what he did at Washington. He was 104 and 12, right? So, and he won 20. He won 20. Well, his record overall as a coach is 104 and 12, and he won 21 straight games at the Washington Huskies. I wrote some stuff down, and he's Texas daddy, right? So he's he's the Longhorns' daddy. He's beat the Longhorns twice, and then obviously he made a national championship in year two. And so he's replacing some really really big shoes in the terms of uh, oh my God, Nick Saban, right? But I don't know. I feel like you, in order to come in, I'm being biased, right? Because it's the SEC, but I feel like in order to come in and be number three, you would have to have been in the SEC for a little while, right? Would have to have cut your teeth in SEC. So Kirby Smart's been in SEC a while. Brian Kelly has gone on year three in the SEC, and this is Kellen DeBoer's first year in the SEC, and he's taking over a huge void in terms of being the head coach for Alabama. So I don't know if he would be number three in my books. I think that I would move Lane Kiffin up to number three, but that's just me. Probably gonna get beat up by this, but that's just me. And then you got Steve Sarkisian at four. Um, I guess so. Again, I guess so. Again, Steve Sarkisian has been around the SEC. He was the offensive coordinator for uh, Nick Saban for a little while, and so he's definitely turned Texas around. Right, Texas is back. Right, a lot of coaches before Steve Sarkisian was saying, "Oh, Texas is back," and they wasn't back. Uh, and so he's definitely got Texas trending in the right direction. This is going to be Texas' first year in the SEC, and they're already picking it either to be Georgia or Texas to finish one or two. You can interchange it, but on top of the SEC. So we got to see there. So I guess it's cool that he's at four. Lane Kiffin is at five. Again, I think Lane Kiffin should be. Lane Kiffin is in definitely deserves to be top five, but I would move him to three and maybe move the board down to five because, like I said, Lane Kiffin has been around a long time, right? Obviously, he's also had some issues with some stuff, right? He got fired a few times, right? But he definitely has turned Ole Miss into a formidable team. Before he got Ole Miss rarely had any 10-win seasons, right? I think they had like only 3 10-win seasons in 48 years. He got them double-digit victories last year. They um, uh, who did they play in the bowl game? I don't know. I didn't write that down, but he had he got Ole Miss in a good position. And if you've been paying attention to what Lane Kiffin has been doing in the transfer portal, I gave him the nickname the transfer portal king because the dude has pretty much brought in everyone else's defense. He brought in Walter Nolan, at one time the number one overall recruit in the country, the defensive tackle from Ole Miss. I mean from Texas A&M. He took some people from Florida. He took one of Florida's best players. He took one of Tennessee's best players. He got some guys coming back. He took some guys out the transfer portal on the offensive side of the ball. So Lane Kiffin definitely has Ole Miss cooking down there in Mississippi, and so he definitely deserves to be in the top five. On paper, Lane Kiffin has a scary team, but we have to see if they're able to put it together and cause some havoc in the SEC. I think Josh Heupel is definitely deserving of being number six overall. Again, Tennessee had just kind of been a program that was in chaos, right? Before he took over. And since he's taking over, he has Tennessee, on the up and up. The year with Hendon Hooker, Tennessee was whooping everybody's ass. They didn't have a defense, but I didn't see Tennessee being that good. Josh Hyper, to me, is a quarterback whisperer. He played the position in college. Hendon Hooker had been around for a while. He turned Hendon Hooker into a stud. Joe Milton was supposed to be better than Hendon Hooker, but it wasn't so. That wasn't the case. They still was able to win 9 games last season. Um, and now they have Nico uh, Amalive, if I'm saying his name right. And so taking a look at what they have coming back on offense and a few pieces on defense, I think that Tennessee is definitely gonna sneak up on some teams. And I think they're definitely a dark horse in the SEC. So yeah, they definitely deserve. Josh definitely deserves to be six. You got Eli, right? Rick, jacking that all up. The head coach at Missouri. My last video was about Missouri. I 100% believe that Missouri is going to be able to get into the 12-team expanded playoffs. They have a favorable schedule, right? They don't have to play some of the big dogs like LSU and Georgia, right? Their first four games, they should go 4-0. They was able to retain their offensive coordinator. Uh, Brady Cook is coming back for another season. Uh, Luther Burton the third is coming back. They got some pieces. They got some pieces out of the transfer portal on offense and on defense. So man, look, Missouri is another one of them scary teams. Another one of them scary teams that's surging, that's on the way up. So yes, Eli definitely deserves to be number seven. Mark Stoops definitely deserves to be number eight. He has Missouri being a formidable opponent. Um, did I say Missouri? Kentucky. Kentucky being a formidable opponent. And so I definitely think he deserves to be number eight. He's cut his teeth in the SEC. He's beat some good teams. He's gave some better teams some close games. And I think that there's a few pieces away down there in Kentucky to definitely put the SEC on notice just a tad bit more. You got Mike Elko. He's coming over from Duke. He's taking over for Jimbo Fisher. So I probably would put if I had man, honestly, I would put Sam Pittman at number nine. I know Sam Pittman is all the way down at 14. Uh the players love Sam Pittman. They love playing for Sam Pittman. Sam Pittman is a tough dude. I would probably put him at 14. Again, Mike Elko was at Duke. This is his first year being the head coach in the SEC at Texas A&M. Sam Pittman has been around. I mean, he's a coach at Arkansas. I think I would put Sam Pittman at 14. I know that Arkansas was peaking, and then it kind of seemed to have a little bit of turmoil around the program. They brought back in Pacino, I think, to be the offensive coordinator. So we got to see. I guess Elko can stay at nine. Again, it's all about seniority to me. It's all about what have you done for me lately. And when I talk about that, I'm talking about what have you done in the SEC. You got Brent Venables at 10, the head coach of Oklahoma. I would put Sam Pittman 9, and I would put Hugh Freeze 10. And the reason why I would put Hugh Freeze 10 is because Hugh Freeze was the coach at Ole Miss, and he got in trouble, got fired, right? But think about what Hugh Freeze was doing when he was the head coach at Ole Miss. They beat Alabama, if I'm not mistaken, and he had some studs on that team, right? He had some really good players on that team. That offense was really lethal, right? And they was kicking some ass when he was the head coach at Ole Miss. But he just wasn't able to put it together. Now he's the head coach at Auburn. So because he was in the SEC for a little while and he had Ole Miss being a really tough opponent, I would put him at 10 because again, Mike Echo and Brent Venables, they may have played against some SEC teams, but this is their first time being coaches in the SEC. Shane Beamer's been around for a little while. Uh, Billy Naples, I think he's in a good spot at 13. Again, Sam Pittman is at 14. I would switch it if I had to make um, this um, poll. And you got Clark Lee at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is going to be Vanderbilt, and you got Jeff Levy, who is the head coach of who the hell is he? The head coach? Oh, the head coach of Mississippi State, right? So we got to see. But all in all, I I think I think it's a good poll. I mean, what the hell do I know? This is my opinion, but all in all, I think that it's a pretty good poll. Um, you know, one and one and two definitely deserve to be one and two. And maybe I would do a little bit of rack and stack and re-ranking of some of the other coaches, like I said, but I'm not gonna keep beating that over the head. So let's move on to LSU, right? So obviously LSU is pretty much on the back end of spring practice, right? And I think they had 15 days. And when they first opened up spring practice, there was a lot of people with video clips of people throwing the ball, the different positions going through drills and all that stuff. And so then they kind of went quiet, but then I guess they was on a break or whatever. But um some of the things that I'm looking forward to with the different positions is we start off with the quarterback, right? The quarterback is the CEO of the team, whether it's on he's the CEO of the whole team, right? And obviously Garrett Nussmeier is going to be replacing Jaden Daniels. Again, huge shoes to fill. And I 100% believe in Garrett Nussmeier. I'm on the Nuss bus, right? And I think that Nussmeier is gonna. This is a bold prediction, but I think Nussmeier is going to one throw for more yards than Jaden Daniels, and also throw for more touchdowns than Jaden Daniels. And this is not taking a shot at Jaden Daniels because I love Jaden Daniels, but I'm just saying that I think that Nussmeier is just gonna. It's no. I'm not taking a shot at um at Jaden Daniels, but I just think that um they're just gonna be able to put Nussmeier in a even better position than Jaden Daniels was, if that makes sense, right? Maybe it don't make sense, but I'm saying that it's a bold prediction. I think that Nussmeier is going to have more touchdowns passing and more passing yards. And why I say that is because Nussmeier has the arm to make every throw on the field, and he definitely likes to throw the ball down the field. He's not as mobile as Jaden Daniels, so he's going to be looking to throw the ball downfield a whole lot more. But that's just a bold prediction. I think that he's going to have more passing touchdowns and throwing yards this upcoming season than Jaden Daniels. Maybe I'm wrong. Running backs, right? So again, don't know what's going on with Trey Holly. He is still um, suspended indefinitely, right? Uh, and so right now, I think the guy that's getting a lot of work right now is Josh Williams. Um, Honestly, man, I'm excited to see Cade Durham get in, right? I think he's going to play a whole lot this coming up season. Another bold prediction is I think that he's going to be maybe a freshman All American or maybe All SEC as a freshman, because I think if Trey Holly does not uh, come back for the season, then you're going to be asking a whole lot of Cade Durham, right? Cade Durham runs track. He's a speedster, um, you know, and although he probably has to put on just a little bit of more weight, I think that they're going to give him a few snaps, and I think he's going to make the most of his opportunities, and I think he's going to be able to possibly earn himself you know, SEC All Freshman. All right. Moving on to the wide receivers. Obviously, the wide receivers in the room now has big shoes to fill, right? You lost um, two wide receivers who pretty much put up uh, close to 2,500 yards between the two of them. I'm talking about Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. Both of them are going to be first round draft picks with Jaden Daniels. They're gone now. That wide receiver room belongs to um, Kyron Lacey and Chris Hilton Jr., along with Kevon Thomas and CJ Daniels, right? Haven't heard a lot about those two guys and Thomas and CJ Daniels. Let me make sure I'm saying his dude name right. Um, I feel like I'm not saying his name properly. Double check real fast. Mhm. Yeah, I was saying. I think I was saying Kevon. His name is Xavion. Yeah, Xavion Thomas, and obviously CJ Daniels. I was saying his name wrong. Xavion Thomas, right? So Xavion Thomas transferred from Mississippi State. and then CJ Daniels came from Liberty. Again, they said that CJ Daniels was paid $300,000, so we have to see. But I haven't heard much about CJ Daniels, and I haven't heard much about Xavier Thomas, but I have heard a lot about Kyron Lacy, and on a lot of the video clips that I've shared on the channel or that I've seen, is Kyron Lacy tearing up our DBs and making a lot of one-handed catches, right? And also Chris Hilton Jr. is a speedster, and he's been tearing up our DBs. So I don't know if that's a bad thing, right? I don't know if they're saying, hey, take it easy on the offense, or if our DBs are again terrible. So I don't know. I don't know. I would hope that our DBs are not terrible this year, but from the little small snippets that I've seen, Kyron Lacy and Chris Hilton Jr. has been tearing our DB's ass up. So we have to see. But yeah, definitely definitely a position room that I'm keeping a close eye on. Right, like again, they have to fill a lot of they got to fill a lot of um, productivity between Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. But I think that room is in good hands. The tight end room, you got Green that's coming in, but I don't think he's going to touch the field very early at all. Mason Taylor is pretty much the best wide receiver right now and the oldest guy in that room. I need Mason Taylor to step it up a little bit more, man. His freshman year, I thought, I expected big things from him, and he just kind of like just been kind of blown in the wind, right? So I expect big things from him. He's gone into his junior year, and I expect big things from him. He's a talented guy. He has NFL blood, right? His father played in the NFL. I just expect big things from Mason Taylor. Uh, LSU offensive line is probably a top five offensive line in the country, if not the number one offensive line in the country. The two tackles, right? Well, I think they moved Emory Jones to guard, but um, you know, two of the best tackles in college football, a top five offensive line. Don't have any concerns there. The only concerns I guess I would have there is just making sure everyone got through spring healthy, and you know goes into the season healthy and are able to stay healthy throughout the season. Then flipping over to the defensive side of the ball, right? Again, everyone knows that LSU's defense last season was bad, like historically bad, right? But got some new faces, right? Blake Baker came over from Missouri, they new head coach now. The godfather of DBU is back, Corey Raymond. Bo Davis is back, and got a few new faces also. And if you watch some of the videos coming out of LSU practice, Bo Davis is making his presence known. He's really getting in those defensive tackles' ass, and those D ends is and the D ends is ass. And another thing, if you think about it, right, when the last time LSU was elite at rushing the passer? It's been a while. We got to get back to those Arden Key days, those Sam Montgomery days, right? We got to get back to those days. We get a lot of quarterback sacks from the linebacker position, whether it's Harold Perkins or someone else, and we need to be able to get pressure and sacks with the front four, right? Obviously, LSU is moving to a 3-5-5, right? But you got to get more push and more pressure with those guys up front collapsing the pocket, right? So I look to see that. I know LSU again is thin on the defensive tackle side. I think Mason Smith should have stayed around, but he ran to the pros. I don't know. He should have stayed around. Um, Wingo, he just, obviously he was gone to the pros, but he was a beast. Jordan Jefferson, he's gone to the pros. LSU had to move an offensive lineman over to defensive tackle, so we have to see how that's going to work out. Dominique McKinley's coming in. I think Dominique McKinley's going to play a whole lot. I mean, the dude's like 6'5", 280, so he's going to play a whole lot. You got Sean Washington that's coming in, big old dude, like 308 pounds from junior college in Mississippi. He's coming in. He's going to get a lot of playing time. The linebackers are the linebackers, right? Harold Perkins is moving inside. I think that he should play more of the star position, but what do I know? But Harold Perkins is moving in the inside. You got Will Weeks, Greg Penn, all of those guys, right? They should be, the linebacker spots should be solid because Blake Baker played linebacker and he's been coaching the hell out of the linebackers, right? So I think the linebackers are going to be solid. Uh, who knows about the cornerbacks, right? You got J.K. Johnson, right? Transfer from Ohio State, I believe that's his name, and you got another guy that came from Ohio State. So we got to see what they gonna do. You got some other guys that's in the mix: Sage Ryan, Stamps, um, some other guys that's maybe LSU maybe trying to snap out of the transfer portal. You got the safeties, right? I think his name was we got Jardine, uh, the guy from Ole Miss. I mean, from why I keep saying Ole Miss from Texas A&M. Was able to get that guy from Texas A&M. He's a Louisiana kid, but went over to Texas A&M. So the the defense, I feel confident in the defense. I think that Blake Baker is going to be able to get this defense to at least a top 50 defense, right? Hopefully a top 30 defense, but still a mixed bag when it comes to the defensive secondary. You got to see once they take the field what we got, right? Versus USC in Las Vegas. But like I said, if you look at the videos that's coming out, Chris Hilton Jr. and Kyron Lacy has been eating our defensive backs up. So maybe that's a good sign because our wide receivers are just so good that they're virtually unguardable. Or maybe that's a bad sign because our DBs are terrible again. So we got to see. We got to see. All in all, you know, if you look back historically on programs in year three under Brian Kelly, Cincinnati, I think they won the division or the conference or whatever. Year three of Notre Dame. Um, let me. I wrote this down. I don't want to lie, but if you look at programs that's coached by Brian Kelly in year three, these programs have had a tremendous amount of success. So I wrote it down right here. So when he was the head coach at Central Michigan, they won in year three. So when he was the head coach at Central Michigan in year three, Central Michigan won his first MAC title in 12 years. When he was the head coach at Cincinnati in year three, Cincinnati went 12-0. And when he was the head coach at Notre Dame in year three, Notre Dame went 12-0 and had a national championship trip, but they lost to Alabama, right? So this is Brian Kelly's year three with LSU, and that's why I have very high expectations for this LSU team. Maybe I'm being delusional, but I have very high expectations for this LSU team. I know we have some questions. You got some questions, right, at quarterback. You got questions at running back. You got questions all over the team. But I think that the team is talented enough. I think that Brian Kelly has finally been able to get in his guys, whether it's coaches and players. And I feel confident in Nussmeyer and the coaches and the guys that we got with this LSU team. And I definitely feel great about the guys that's coming in the next year's recruiting class and the year after that. But I think that LSU is definitely going to get a playoff spot, right? I think they're going to be able to get in the 12 team playoff spot. It would be nice if they were able to you know get in the first run through four, right? So they can get a bye and get a playoff game at home. But I'm just happy. I would just be happy if LSU was able to get into the playoffs. As long as you have a shot, as long as you have a shot, you have a shot to be able to run the table. But I fully believe that LSU is going to be able to get into the playoffs come uh, the playoff season of 2024. All right, so that is it for me. First live stream. It probably was rough. It's my first time doing a live stream, and I necessarily was not necessarily prepared. I was just like, let me just give it a try. But like I said, I'm gonna be doing this a little bit more often. But I do want to say thanks to everyone, right, who tunes in to watch the show. I thank you for watching. I thank you for leaving a like, a comment, but continue to hit that like and subscribe button and press that notification bell so you can stay up to date on all of the latest drops from the channel. And until next time, I'm out.